I don't know how I can follow Becky. I do have a lot of energy, but I don't think I can beat that. And literally, I feel I'm kind of taking you from outer space really back down to Earth. So let's hope that I can do a good job of what I need to tell you about. So lots of you will have heard and probably have an impression about Western Union. I'm sure the name Western Union is familiar, but there's probably not a lot of you that actually know exactly what we do. And even people who think they know what we do don't really know what we do. So I'm here to tell you a little bit of a story. It's not a pretty one. And I am going to share with you warts and all. But I'm also going to share you a story of hope, a story of ambition, a story of transformation. And I'm kind of almost skipping to the punchline. There is no silver bullet. Oh. But there's lots that we can do, and we have done, to try and transform this 165-year-old brand. I'm going to skip a little bit to the next slide. This is a little bit of our history. Yes, we are actually a 166-year-old brand. We invented the telegraph. And would you believe there are still people who ring us up and say, do you still do telegrams? The answer is no. Don't bother ringing the call center. So let's talk a little bit about why this category that we're in has transformed so significantly. There used to be, at one point in time in the world, two very separate parts of the market. One in which we were dominant and had been dominant for a very, very long time. That's our retail and cash-to-cash account. It's literally that simple. You go to a store, you take cash out of your pocket, you give it to an agent. By some magic, it then shoots it to the other end of the planet, and cash comes out. That really is what we did. For about 130-odd years of our history, that is all what we did. And we built a massive, massive business. $6 billion turnover, $1 billion in profit. We have over 600,000 locations globally. And let me tell you a little fact. Please don't repeat it outside of this room. Our legal and compliance team will not be happy. We have more locations than Starbucks, McDonald's, KFC, and Burger King combined. So we are global. There are only 2 countries in the world we are not in. Anyone wants to hazard a guess? Jamie, you're not allowed. I told you last night. 2 countries in the world where we are not. North Korea is one of them. Yeah. What's the other one? Okay, Syria. So there's only 2 countries in the world where you will not find a Western Union location. Everywhere else, you will find not only a Western Union location, but a Western Union location in the most remote parts of the world where no one else gets access. And we've built our entire business, a very, very big business, just doing geographical expansion in a physical sense. But that market hasn't got much of a future. If you think about what's happening in the world in terms of digitization, where the growth is on the account-to-account. You send from your app, and you send to someone's bank account. And that market, we have neglected, and we kind of rested on our laurels. It's a typical kind of, you've heard of a few other brands that have gone through that journey and didn't wake up in time. We are trying to catch up, and we are trying to catch up very fast. We are late to the game. There is no question about that. And in actual fact, if you look at who and why this is happening, first of all, our consumers are not waiting for us to digitize. They are going digital. Even if they don't send money digitally, they use their smartphone for every other aspect of their lives. They're on social media. They communicate via voice over IP. So the reality is that our consumers are more digital than we are. That's not a very good story to give our analysts, our investors, and our shareholders, because it always feels like we're on the back foot. It always feels that our consumers and our competitors are 2 steps ahead of us. So we needed to wake up, and we needed to wake up in a big way. And a bit like a sleeping giant, it's not been an easy journey. And I'm really telling you the story that I don't normally tell the shareholders and the investors and the analysts for obvious reasons. So I'm just being more honest with you than I probably are normally when I stand on stage. But I think for you to really understand the scope, the scale, and the difficulty of our transformation, I think I need to ground this in reality, our reality, the reality of our consumers and the reality of our competitors. So when we look at our competitors, everyone wants a piece of our breakfast. There is no question about it. We wake up every morning having lost another few pounds of share. And the reason for that is that the retail part of the market is going nowhere. It's very big, but it's like a tanker. It's really going nowhere at speed. And like every organization in the world, we're about growth. So we can't rely on our historical success to carry us into the future. And when we look at the digital space, where the barriers to entry are much lower, when you need to put down a physical footprint, it costs a lot of money. You need bodies, you need feet on the ground that are going around opening new locations, opening new markets. But in the digital space, it's much, much easier. So guess what? Everyone has entered that market. In actual fact, everyone entered that market before we did. So where we are the dominant player in the retail cash-to-cash business, we are definitely the challenger. And it's a bit like, as an organization, being a monster with two heads. One very big, disproportionately big, but a little bit slow and sleepy head. And the other one, which is tiny and is really trying to shout out and not being heard very easily. And just to give you the dimensions, about 85% of our turnover is still in retail cash-to-cash. 85% of our turnover, it's growing 1% to 2% a year. That's not good enough for the shareholders. In actual fact, that's not good enough for any of us. The digital side is probably 7 or 8% of our turnover and is growing double digit. So how do we literally shift and break down the inertia of moving all the retail cash-to-cash focus into that digital space? So let me tell you how we are doing this. In the face of all of these snazzy, slick, kind of cool competitors, we are not the cool kids. We are not. And the big tendency, and I think the big temptation, would be to kind of be granddad in new funky clothes. That would be so easy to do. And a lot of other brands have tried that. And more times than not, they failed because it's not authentic. Because you have to be who you are. You have to stay true to who you are. I've skipped to my second punchline. So let me go back a bit. Oh, that slide didn't build. Oh, I don't know what happened. Okay, I'll tell you the story because it's not written. Oh, yes, it is. Oh, it's building by itself. I feel a bit like Becky now. The slides surprise me. So it should have built a little bit more. Well, I'll tell you the story. So, we have been building our digital infrastructure. Before we can go to our consumers, before we can go to our analysts and our investors and talk about being a digital brand, we need to have the proof. We need to have the capabilities. We can't just tell an empty story and, forgive my French, I am French, I can say it, bullshit everyone. We can't. You have to have the reasons to believe. You have to have the evidence. Talk about science. You have to have the evidence, the facts, to be able to convince people. Otherwise, it's just empty promises. And that's unauthentic too. And people will find you out very, very quickly. So we spent 10 years building the infrastructure. We probably didn't do a very good job at telling anyone. And when I joined Western Union, I used to say to people, we are the greatest story never told. Now, when you join an organization like Western Union, and you find yourself at the head of the marketing function, and you realize this is the greatest story never told, your job is easy to do. All you need is to tell the story, because we are prettier on the inside than we are on the outside. But that is also the biggest challenge for a brand like Western Union. We are seen as old school. Consumers don't get very easily convinced. And in the meantime, you've got the Zoom, the PayPal, the Azimo, all the cool kids who have come in and have presented themselves to those consumers with their positioning, with their promises. Their infrastructure is nowhere near as good or as big as ours. But we didn't tell anyone we were building it for 10 years. We were just quietly, building. I kind of call the technical team internally very affectionately the pipers. I can tell you they don't like it, but literally that's what we're doing. We lay pipes. If you think of money as money corridors, UK to Romania is a corridor. You put money at one end of the pipe in the UK, It shoots money to Romania through a pipe. We operate 16,000 pipes globally. We send money 31 times per second in 130 currencies, in 220 countries. How many of you knew that? None. You don't even need to put your hand up. None. Well, apart from Jamie, because I told him last night. We have to stop talking. So when we ask consumers, what do you think of Western Union? What do they say? We're old, we're slow, we're outdated, we're the brand for my parents. We're old school, we're hard work, because the experience at retail is not super slick, it's not very fast. Do you know that there are people in the Philippines who, for the entire day, go and queue up to get their money out from Western Union? No, but actually it's, quite touching. They leave their shoes in the queue, go and eat, and come back where their shoes were, because they don't want to lose their place in the queue. It's 4 or 5 hours. It's the entire day. Now, they've turned it into a massive social event. For anyone who knows, people in the Philippines, they like their gatherings. They like congregating and having a good time, but they literally spend the whole day in a Western Union location. Is that what you want to spend your Sunday doing? Probably not. So the experience is letting us down on the retail side, and we can be so much better, so much slicker on the digital side. People also don't see us as very good value or associate with us as a brand. It's like, this is the brand for my grandparents. That's what my grandparents used to do. We, the modern consumers, aspire for a brand that's modern. Well, that's a bit of an obvious one. But you have to be modern. You can't say we are modern. You have to show it. You have to demonstrate it through every touch point. We want to be easy and helpful. We want to deliver an effortless experience to our consumers. We want to be good value, of course, and we've done a lot of work in the last 3 years in bringing down our prices to be more competitive without completely kind of selling it cheap, because that's also not who we are. And we want to be for people like me. So I'm going to show you a little video. This is actually a video that was done for our investors. And what it demonstrates is that the story inside is so much more complex and so much more engaging than the story people see from the outside. This is not an advert. This was actually done for our investors, our analysts. But I think it does really, really tell who we are and our capabilities. We don't need to turn this into a marketing communication, because if you show this to consumers, they'll probably kind of go, not interested. So let's play that video, and then I'll come back and tell you what we're doing. So it sounds simple enough. We have all the capabilities. All we need to do is tell people we have those capabilities. But this is a low-interest category. It's really a commodity. Sending money globally. Who wakes up one morning and goes, I know what I want to do today. I want to send money to the other side of the planet. It's not that kind of category. You either send money because you have the money and because someone else needs the money. It's not an impulse-driven category. You can't stimulate demand. It's entirely based on whether you need to send the money or not. We cannot stimulate people sending more money. There is no need for it. And it's a very, very low interest. It's a commodity. People just see it as a service. So how do we turn this into an interesting, compelling, credible, and engaging story that's going to make people reappraise our brand, see us with different eyes, and finally compete with the competition? It starts with our app. Probably not many of you knew we had an app. Well, guess what? The majority of our consumers don't know either. So we really need to kind of start with the app. And you can do almost everything on your mobile. You can look up for Western Union on your mobile. You can look for an origin location. You can send money, of course. You can do all sorts of things on your app. So our strategy is mobile first. Everything we do starts with a mobile, because that's where our consumers are. It's not just about starting the mobile and forgetting the retail, because we don't want to completely kind of have a disconnect between our retail business. So we've created a functionality within our app, because there are still people who don't feel very comfortable, who don't feel very confident about sending money digitally. So what we end up doing is that you can start the transaction on your app, so you can do this in your own privacy. There's a lot of people who feel a bit nervous about sharing their details, their financial details with an agent, for example. So you can do everything on your app, but pay. You then go to a retail location and you hand in the cash. Or you can do it all online. You can actually also pay someone from your app in cash at the other end of the planet, something that neither Zoom or PayPal or Azimo or any of those players can offer. We also digitize our membership portal. We have over 27 million members on our portal. So we've given them a digital place where they can go for rewards, where they can find offers, where they can get preferential rates, where we serve them with content. So we really thought about every single touch point as a way of engaging them and as a way of really putting our capabilities forward, but in a way that's relevant, in a way that's going to resonate with their customer journey. Customer care. A lot of what people can do can now be done self-serve. They don't need to call a call center or go to an agent anymore. They literally can do it on their apps. They can literally serve themselves on their apps, and that's really, really transformed the experience. We also, as you might imagine, a lot of our customers are diasporas. They're people who've left their home country and have gone to live elsewhere. So we completely transformed the way in which we engage them. We actually have 5 Facebook pages, 1 global page. We have a Wu Pinoy for our Filipino diaspora, a Wu Indie for our Indian diaspora, a Wu Latino for our Hispanics diaspora, and a Wu Africa for our African diaspora. And we serve them relevant content on a daily drip basis, in their own language, and we're literally modernizing and completely changing the way the brand is being seen in a much modern, much more relevant way. And then lastly is everything we do about our brand needs to be in social, needs to be in digital. And the biggest thing that we've done recently, some of you may have heard, probably not, is we've become the official sleeve sponsor of Liverpool Football Club. And Liverpool Football Club is a 125-year-old brand. It's got 770 million fans around the world. And our consumers are the biggest football fans ever in the world. It's the #1 sport across our consumer brand, our consumer base. And what this means is that we can really tap by association with another brand that has shared values, that gives us more credibility, more reach. We have a very, very limited marketing budget, and what we really do is use this to amplify our message. So I want to finish with one film, which is our launch film for our Liverpool Football Club.
Walk on right now, with hope right now. 3 down, but win on pens right now. Yeah! One team right now, one dream right now. Followed with pride, worldwide, right now. New bid right now, new blood right now. Support, believe, belong right now. Away right now, or home right now. You'll never walk alone right now.
And what this has really done is it's gone completely the right now, which we call this bullet poetry, and this right now kind of punctuation at the end of every sentence has been picked up on Twitter and gone completely viral. And all the fans for Liverpool and all our consumers are really using this to kind of, forward the message. And suddenly we are playing in a completely different arena from where we were playing before. So my last little wrap up is, as I said, first punchline, there is no silver bullet. 2, you need to think of all the touch points. This is not just about marketing. You need to think about care. You need to think about experience. Create content that's credible and relevant. I think our Liverpool Football Club is a good example of that. Don't lose who you are as a brand. It's so, so, so tempting to be the granddad in the new cool clothes. And I have fought so hard internally within Western Union to not be that brand that just pretends to be something it's not. You have to stay true to who you are as a brand, stay true to your values, stay true to your purpose, but find a more modern and engaged way of putting it. And the last thing, I can't say that again, tell the story over and over and over again. This is about a consistent, lengthy game. It's taken us 3 years, and I think we only just breaking the tip of the iceberg. Thank you.